Chicago, February 14th, 1929. It's just after 10:30 in the morning, and inside a rundown brick garage on North Clark Street, 7 men are standing against the back wall. 2 of them are dressed like police officers. Within seconds, the sound of gunfire rips through the building. More than 150 rounds fired in under a minute. When it's over, 6 men are dead on the spot, ripped apart by machine guns and shotguns fired at close range. This is the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the most notorious gangland killing in American history, and the moment that puts Al Capone's name in headlines around the world. But to understand exactly how this garage becomes a slaughterhouse, we have to rewind all the way back to a city drowning in bootleg whiskey and blood money.
Noir.
By the winter of 1929, Chicago has been at war with itself for almost a decade. Prohibition became the law of the land on January 17, 1920, and almost overnight, it turned liquor into the most profitable commodity in America. Al Capone, a 21-year-old from Brooklyn, arrives in Chicago that same year, invited by Johnny Torrio to work for his boss, Colosimo, brothel and gambling king. Torrio wants to expand into bootlegging. Colosimo refuses. A few months later, in May 1920, Colosimo is shot dead in the lobby of his own restaurant. Torrio takes over, brings Capone in as his right hand, and together they build an empire stretching across the south side and the suburb of Cicero, worth an estimated $60 million a year. But Torrio and Capone aren't the only ones in the liquor business. On the north side, Dino Banyan runs his own gang out of a flower shop across from a Catholic cathedral, supplying whiskey and beer to the same speakeasies Torrio wants for himself. For a while, the two sides coexist, carving up territory and looking the other way. That doesn't last. In November 1924, O'Banion is gunned down inside his own shop, allegedly on Torrio's orders. 2 months later, Torrio himself is ambushed outside his apartment and shot multiple times, barely surviving. Badly wounded and shaken, he hands the entire organization to Capone and quietly leaves Chicago for good. Capone is now the undisputed head of what will become known as the Chicago Outfit, and he's just 26 years old. O'Banion's death doesn't end the North Side gang. It hands it to Jaime Weiss, a man just as violent and far more obsessed with revenge. Weiss tries to kill Capone more than once, including a daylight drive-by in September 1926, when more than 1,000 rounds are fired into Capone's headquarters at the Hawthorne Hotel in Cicero. Capone survives by diving under a table. Weiss doesn't survive the year. In October 1926, he's shot down on the same street where O'Banion was killed 2 years earlier. Leadership of the North Side gang now falls to George Bugs Moran, a hard-drinking Irishman who hates Capone even more personally than his predecessors did. By 1929, the two gangs are still fighting over the same thing they've always fought over: control of Chicago's illegal alcohol supply, worth hundreds of millions of dollars a year across the whole city. On Thursday, February 7th, Capone boards a train for Florida, to his mansion on Palm Island near Miami. Officially, he's there to rest and recover from a bout of the flu. Unofficially, he's building himself an alibi, because back in Chicago, something is already in motion. For weeks, Moran's men have been hijacking truckloads of Canadian whiskey belonging to the outfit, smuggled down from Detroit through the Purple Gang. Capone is done losing shipments and money to Moran, and he wants him gone entirely. The plan is put in the hands of Jack McGurn, one of Capone's most trusted enforcers, a former boxer known on the street as Machine Gun Jack. Sometime around Monday, February 11th, McGurn rents a room in a boarding house directly across the street from a garage at 2122 North Clark Street. This garage belongs to the SMC Cartage Company, a front used by Moran's gang to store and distribute their liquor. From the window of that rented room, 2 lookouts settle in and start watching everyone who comes and goes. Their job for the rest of the week is simple: Wait until Moran himself is inside the garage, then give the signal. McGurn recruits gunmen from outside Chicago, most likely Fred Burke and John Miller, hired killers with no ties to the local underworld who can vanish afterward. 2 others will pose as uniformed police officers carrying real badges and driving a stolen or borrowed police car, so that Moran's men see the vehicle pull up and assume it's just a routine liquor raid, the kind bootleggers dealt with all the time without much worry. On Wednesday, February 13th, the bait is set. Word is passed to Moran's crew through a middleman that a truck of hijacked old log cabin whiskey, supposedly stolen from Capone's own operation, will be delivered to the Clark Street garage the following morning. It's an offer too good to pass up, cheap, high-quality liquor from an untraceable source. Moran's men are told to be there early, around 10:30. By Thursday morning, February 14th, the trap is fully set. Just after 10:30, 6 members of the Northside gang are already inside the garage, waiting for the delivery. Among them are brothers Frank and Pete Gusenberg, gunmen who had personally taken part in past attempts on Capone's life, along with Albert Weinschenk. Moran himself is running late. As he approaches the garage on foot with 2 other men, he spots what looks like a police car parked outside and 2 uniformed officers walking in. Assuming a raid is underway, he turns around and quietly walks the other way. That one decision saves his life. Inside, the 2 fake officers order the 7 men to line up against the back wall. Hands raised, standard procedure for a liquor bust. The men comply without resistance, some of them probably annoyed but not afraid this had happened before and usually ended. That's when the other gunmen step out of the car with Thompson submachine guns and a shotgun. In less than a minute, they fire more than 150 rounds into the 7 men against the wall. The 2 men dressed as police then walk the killers out at gunpoint, an act staged deliberately to look to any passerby on the street like a lawful arrest rather than an execution. The car pulls away calmly, and by the time real police arrive minutes later, the killers are long gone. Frank Gusenberg is still alive when officers reach the scene, riddled with 14 bullets. He's rushed to the hospital conscious for hours, and when detectives ask him point blank who did this, he refuses to answer. He dies that afternoon without naming a single name, loyal to the underworld code until the end. By early afternoon, word of the killings has spread through the entire city. Reporters and photographers crowd the sidewalk outside 2122 North Clark Street. Chicago and the rest of the country are stunned. Newspapers across America run the story on their front pages, and the killing becomes shorthand for gangland brutality itself. Investigators bring in a young forensic scientist named Calvin Goddard, who uses a new invention, the comparison microscope, to match the bullets to 2 specific Thompson submachine guns. Capone, sitting comfortably at his mansion in Florida, is questioned by Dade County investigators that same week and produces an airtight alibi, witnesses who confirm he never left Palm Island. No one is ever formally charged or convicted for the massacre, though almost everyone at the time, police, press, and public alike, believes Capone ordered it from 600 miles away. And Capone controls Chicago's underworld more completely than ever before. But the massacre also does something Capone doesn't expect. The sheer brutality of 7 men lined up in gunned-down execution-style turns. Special agents, including a young Elliot Ness, begin building cases against Capone's operations piece by piece. It's this attention, more than any rival gang, that eventually brings Capone down. Not for the murders on Clark Street, but for something far more mundane, unpaid income taxes. Within 3 years of that Thursday morning, the man who took over Chicago in a single bloody week is on his way to federal prison.